Fall is finally here. The leaves are just starting to change here in Western Pennsylvania, gardening zone 6A, and I have to tell you, fall is my absolute favorite time for baking. Today we are making these chocolate caramel covered candy apples. They are so easy to make. It's only 3 steps of melting caramel, covering with chocolate, and decorating with your topping of choice. These are so easy to make. I'm going to show you exactly every step of the way. So come along, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on what's next, and let's get started. The first thing I am going to do is start to go through the apples and look for any that have any kind of bad spots or bruises on them. If I find any that are like that, I will set those aside. Those will be good for snacking on, cutting off the bad spots, and just eating them. To make these caramel apples, we want our apples to be in very good shape. That way they will hold up longer and we won't have to worry about biting into a bad spot once we cover it up, because once we cover it up, we're not gonna know where the spots are. So these look pretty good. That first one didn't look too hot, but I guess I got lucky because out of all of those apples, I only have 2 that are less than ideal for making caramel apples with, so I'll just set those aside. Next, I'm going to go through, and this step is kind of optional, but it's one that I like to do, and that is remove the stems. I'm just not a fan of the stems in my caramel apples. You may like them there. You're obviously not going to eat them, I wouldn't think, but they might be, you know, nice aesthetically if you wanted to put your dowel rod off to the side and be able to see that stem. So maybe I'll go ahead and leave one on just to show you what that looks like. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and remove my stems just to get those out of the way. And to remove the stem, I'm just holding onto the stem and twisting the apple until it breaks off. I am using Granny Smith apples. The Granny Smith apples are one of the best choices for making caramel covered candy apples. The reason is, first off, they do have a really good flavor. So the tart flavor of the Granny Smith apple pairs really nicely with the sweetness of the caramel and the chocolate that we're going to be adding. Another reason is the Granny Smith is more of a firm apple and they hold up really well for all of the stuff that we'll be adding compared to some other varieties. So that is why I recommend Granny Smith. It's the best choice for what we're doing today, and I think it'll also taste the best. The next step we are going to do is wash the apples. Now, if your apples came from an orchard, you could maybe skip this step, but mine came from a grocery store. They are going to have a waxy coating on them, and that waxy coating is going to prevent any caramel from sticking on the apple. So we want to wash them and kind of get that coating off so that the caramel adheres better to the apples. So what we're first going to do is get a pot of water out. We are going to put that on a high heat to get it boiling. Next, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of baking soda and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. Go ahead and give that a little stir, and then we will just wait for that to boil. While I'm waiting for that to boil, I'm going to make an ice bath for the apples to go in. To this ice, I am adding super cold water, and what this will do is prevent the apples from cooking, getting mushy. We definitely don't want to get them mushy. We just want to get that waxy outer coating off. Now that the water is boiling, we're going to put the apples in one at a time, and we're just going to swirl them around for about 10 seconds. And after that, we are going to take a towel. I have a microfiber cloth here that I'm using, and I'm just gonna go around and kind of rub it and get all of that residue liquid off. And you'll notice that it'll be more dull than when you first put it in. And then after that, we will put it in the ice bath and let it sit there for about half an hour. That way they'll get chilled again and be ready for the next step. So we will just go ahead and repeat that with every apple until they are all done. Now Now I'm going to get out a couple cookie sheets and cover them with parchment paper, and then we will spray them with some cookie spray. I think this will be enough. If not, we can make more. The reason I'm putting this on cookie sheets as opposed to the counter is because we are going to spray cooking spray on them. I'm going to just try to spray it on the cookie sheet, and then that way it just kind of helps contain the mess. And then if I am moving stuff around, I can just pick them up and move them around instead of having all of these apples to move. So I'm going to go ahead and prep the cookie trays. Let's go ahead and get some cooking spray on that. One trick I have for spraying these is to prevent overspray from getting all over the counter. I'm actually going to go ahead and set this in the dishwasher lid. I will show you what I'm doing, and then that way the mess is in the dishwasher that is going to clean itself rather than all over the countertop. So I will just kind of set that over there. Easy peasy. I do recommend spraying with parchment paper. This is really going to help prevent the caramel from sticking to it. Now it is time for the caramel. I am using this kind of caramel. There are several different caramels you can use, or you could even make your own. But I found this to be the quickest, easiest, most readily available thing that I could find. I'm going to use a small pan for this so that I can easily dip my apples in. It's not going to be as hard as using something big like this where all the caramel would spread out on the bottom. In this, the caramel will stay nice and tall and just make it easier for getting onto the apples and getting them covered. I'm just going to use a spatula to get that out. Yeah, so we are just going to add 2 cans for now. I am going to put this on a medium to low heat. We don't want to scorch it. We just want to warm it and let it heat up. Once we start to stir it, once it starts to warm up, we'll want to keep stirring it to keep it from scorching at the bottom. In the past, I've used the caramels that you can buy and unwrap them and heat those up. Those work great. They just take a little bit of extra time to unwrap. I've also used caramel in kind of like this block. I will show a picture of it and a link to that as well. That is what I've used in the past. It works great. The only thing is it's a little bit hard to find. You kind of have to go to like a specialty baking store. Sometimes party supply stores have them, or you can get it online. And so I will link to that. You can also make your own caramel. That would be nice to do as well. I just knew I wasn't going to have the time for that, so this worked out great for me today. All right, it's been just a couple more minutes, and now if you look at it, it's very clearly boiling, but when you go to lift up the whisk, it's falling right out. None is wanting to stick in it. So that is how we know it is ready. So I'm going to take that off the heat and we are ready to dip. I'm not quite sure how many apples this will do, but we will find out. All right, it's time to dip. So we'll just take our first apple and get it in there. It's up to you if you want to go all the way or leave a little bit of a spot at the top. And then we will just get the excess off as much as possible. Otherwise, it'll kind of puddle at the bottom. We will set it there and so on and so forth. All right, I got the second batch of caramel warmed up. Now I went and took the first cookie sheet of apples and put them in the fridge. That will just help the caramel set faster, and then we will be ready to decorate them quicker. And there we have it. We have 8 more beautiful caramel apples. What I'm going to do is refrigerate the rest of this and save it. It'll make a really good ice cream topping or some kind of a dessert topping later on. So definitely don't throw that extra caramel away. It'll be yummy later. All right, I saved 2 apples because we are going to do something special with these apples, and that is use these caramel apple wraps. So these are ridiculously easy to cover your apples with in caramel, and you can definitely use them for what we just did instead of doing it that way. If you were going to do that, what you would do is put these in the oven for a few minutes to warm them up, but we are doing something different with them. These are going to be our ghosts. So what I'm going to do is get one of these out of here. And actually before that, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 dowel rods in those. All right, and then what we'll do is take one of the caramels and unpeel it from the sheet, and then we are going to center it over the rod, stick a hole in it, and we are going to wrap it up, and these are going to become our little boo ghost. So we're going to kind of stretch it to cover the apple, and it doesn't have to cover completely. Make sure you take the stems out first, unless you want your little ghost to have little antennas sticking out, I guess. Actually, I could probably still take that out. Yeah. Okay, let's start over. So we'll just pretend like that didn't happen. This is the real deal, y'all. I'm not gonna cut that out. That really happened, and we're just gonna leave that in there and roll along with it. So for the ghost, we just want to kind of peel these down to stretch and hang down over the apple like so. Want to kind of make it wavy to look like a little ghost. This is gonna look so cute once we dip it in chocolate. All right, so then we have our second one. Leave it there like so. And we are finally ready for the chocolate. The fun part is finally here. It is time to decorate. Before I get the chocolate melted, what I'm going to do is get all of my toppings ready, because once we start to melt the chocolate, we will want to work a little bit quickly just to keep from having to keep reheating the chocolate, because sometimes it gets a little funky if we have to keep reheating it. So anyways, what I have here are a few different things that we're going to do today. And the first thing is a graham cracker mix that I made earlier this week. To make this, this is 1 sleeve of graham crackers. So normally in a box of graham crackers, there's 3 sleeves of graham crackers, and this is one of those sleeves. And in that, I mixed 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. If you were going to do this and didn't want it to taste like fall, don't put the pumpkin pie spice in. But if you want them to taste like fall, highly recommend the pumpkin pie spice. We have these Heath bits. These are really good with milk chocolate. And then we have some decorative colored sprinkles. We have orange and red and yellow. I'm really excited about these. I tasted them before doing this video. They taste really good, and they are dye-free, so that's always nice. And then we have these crushed pecans. I'm just going to go ahead, and I have these plates. These plates have a little bit of a lip in them. They're nice and open, so it'll just make it really easy to get the apples, to work with getting the apples covered and contain the mess of all the crumbs. So I'm just going to dump it all out, and that's a very healthy amount of toppings. I highly doubt I will use that many, but you can always put it back in the bag if we don't use it. These pecans would be super, super good. And see, this is the fun thing about making apples, is you can get so creative in all the different toppings and things you want to do. And I was just thinking, these would be so good to put in a skillet with some butter, melt the butter, add some sugar, cook it up a little bit. Oh my, I could just eat that with a spoon. So we'll do this one with just some pecans. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit more in there. See, I'm busy talking and not paying attention to what I'm stewing, we want to have a good amount in there. We will keep our dye on hand. I will save that for last, just to make sure that I get everything else done that I want to with all the other colors and toppings and everything, and we will go from there. Some other topping ideas you could do would be M&Ms, Reese's Pieces, any kind of cookie you could crush, like Oreos would probably be really good. If there's something different that you do, I would love to hear about it. I love trying new things. So if you do something different, let me know, or if you think of any ideas, you know, come back and share with us. I'd love to hear all about it. So we are going to go ahead and get the chocolate melted. And to do that, I'm going to get out a bowl. I'm extra excited to do the ghost. So I will start with white chocolate. We'll start with the ghost and get those out of the way since they'll definitely be white. And then we will just kind of go from there. And I am using this Ghirardelli white vanilla flavor melting wafers. We are going to go ahead and put that in the microwave for a half a minute at a time. And if you've never melted chocolate like this before, one thing to know is when we go to melt it, when we pull it out of the microwave, it's going to keep looking like this. It's not going to start to melt until we start to stir it, and it'll start to slowly melt. So just be mindful of that if you know, or if you're using a double boiler to heat it too. It's not going to just melt on its own. It's going to need stirred, and you don't want to overheat it if you don't have to. So just something to be mindful of. I didn't know that when I first melted chocolate, but we will, why am I stirring it now? I didn't get it in the microwave yet. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the microwave for a half minute at a time, and we will go from there. All right, so it's been half a minute and not much action is going on. You can see it's starting to melt just a slight amount. So because this is hardly melted, I'm going to go ahead and give that another half a minute. Okay, so see here. And see how it didn't look like it changed at all, but then you go to stir it and that's when the magic happens. So this is definitely good. All these little pieces are going to melt here in just a couple seconds once I get it incorporated. And that'll be perfect. I'm going to move my cookie sheet a little bit closer because once we get the chocolate on the apple, we don't want to be traveling the world with it. We want it to be right beside where we're done dipping, just so we don't make a mess. And like I said, I'm going to start with the ghost, and I'm going to get one more spoon rest just to keep that out of the way. Now, I think for this one, let's see here. Yeah, because of these, the way it's sticking out at the bottom, this one I'm gonna do a little bit differently. I generally don't dip my apples like this, but for these ghosts, this is how it's going to happen. We are just going to spoon it over. And I think it would be best to do these first while the chocolate's the warmest and easiest to work with. Get it completely covered there. That looks good. And kind of go like that. And then I like to just go like this for a couple seconds. I feel like that really helps keep it from puddling up at the bottom. And then we will set it there. One more ghost to go, and then we can get into our toppings. All right, give that one a little bit more room there. All right, now it's for the real dipping. So we'll go ahead and grab one of these, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and take that out for now. This is what I normally do. I normally have a bowl just like this, and we will rotate it. Now, if you wanted to leave it like that so you could see the caramel, go ahead. Or if you wanted to cover it all the way, you can do that too. I think I am gonna go ahead and cover it all the way. I want some clean parchment paper to put these on. I don't want to put these back on the greasy parchment paper. But anyways, for this one, so I'm gonna go like that. Go up as high as you would like. I'm gonna go up a little bit higher than that. Call that one good. And then, yeah, I'm gonna get some parchment paper and just put it on the counter. That'll be our landing zone. I think I will go ahead and do one more like that. All right. That one bag of chocolate safely got us 4 medium-sized apples. I could probably get away with doing one more, but what I'm going to do, because I don't want to run out midway through doing an apple, so just to be safe, I'm gonna go ahead and heat up one more bag of the white chocolate. Next up is we are going to do some with some sprinkles. Have your sprinkles ready before you dip. So there's some orange kind of in the middle. You wanna work quickly because I can already see that my chocolate's either like bouncing off that quick. So I'll just have to kind of do that to get them on. And there we go. One fall sprinkle colored apple. And this one, we'll do a mix of sprinkles all over it. Looks good. That one looks very festive. So I think with the rest of the white, what I will do is I'm just going to do them plain white and I will let them harden and then we will decorate with them and I'll show you how we're gonna do that. That got us 5 more. I could definitely get a 6th one out of that. For fun, what I am going to do now is I want to go over this and just drizzle some on like that. I'll just kind of give it a little bit more, make it a little bit more fun. If you wanted, you could go back over it and sprinkle some more on, but I think that'll be good. Next, I'm going to color what's left in here orange because we can always add more, but it won't be so easy to backtrack. Now I'm going to get a piping bag out. Spoon it into the piping bag. Now something you could do for fun is heat this back up just for a few seconds to get it liquefied again and use that to drizzle on the white. That would look pretty to have the orange drizzle on the white. We need it to be a little bit thicker than that. All right, and then I'm just going to draw some pumpkins on these. To do the little green stems on my pumpkins, I am just going to put 2 of these into a little jar. You know, I'll go ahead and do 3 chips in. All right, so 20 seconds was perfect for just doing those couple chips. And then I'm just gonna put 1 drop of green in. Just going to a little bit on the toothpick there. And then just kind of put it on like that. How cute are those little pumpkins? I have the milk chocolate all melted. This is 2 bags of milk chocolate. And what I'm going to do first is make the eyes and mouth for the ghost. I'm going to do that first so that it has a chance to cool. And I'm going to make them on the parchment paper so that, I'll bring you in closer. I'm going to do it on the parchment paper so that if I mess up, I can try again. Where if I do it directly on the apple, you kind of only have 1 shot to not mess it up. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. All right, so I'd say that's the perfect size. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat doing that. And I might redo that one. I want it to be a little bit more like an oval than a circle. The milk chocolate is ready to go. I'm just going to repeat just like with the white chocolate. It is time to do the ghost. And what I'm going to do here is make sure that my little drops of chocolate are cooled down enough, and they are. I got a little carried away and made way more than what I need. But first I'm going to pick the front of my apple. I think that will be the front for the ghost. And then I'm just going to pick it up here and flip it over and put just a little dab of chocolate on the back to act like a glue. We'll pick that up and stick it on. And repeat. Oh, looks like a little dog, huh? I was not intending for that at all, but that's what we ended up with. That is funny. We got a little dog ghost. Alright, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like it and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.